Hi, welcome to the Gear Garage. My name is Zach. This is my little internet show by Whitewater Stuff. And in the last episode, we talked a lot about static lines and why you want a longer static line. I want to to recap that discussion a little bit and continue with it. It was fun for me. A lot of you enjoyed it. And there's things that I wish I had said in that to add to it. And if I had said it, it would have been half an hour long. It might have been boring. But if you enjoyed that, this is sort of like a review and extension of that. And first of all, I call it a haul line in the last episode. People call them safety lines. I think safety line is a smart thing to call them because they're not always for hauling. They're also for like doing tension diagonals and tilt for lower systems. I also like the word static line. I think static line is a good name for it. That's probably what I prefer. But just really quick again, a lot of times we have, rafts pinned on rocks, wrapped on rocks. And when they're wrapped, they tend to be folded backwards. Not always, but that's what I'm demonstrating here. And there's a lot of uses for static lines, but in my experience, we almost always pull them out for wraps. That's most of my time doing it. And typically what happens is you tie, throw a throw bag over, pull the static line over, attach it, and ideally, well not ideally, you should attach it to a 2-point system, a 2-point self-equalizing anchor. So let's say first of all, this rock is 60 feet out. Just for the sake of we're gonna make some calculations here again. Just so we have a number, 60 feet out. So if it's 60 feet out, this is a 14-foot boat. I'm gonna say this distance is probably like half of that, like 7 feet plus a few more. It's probably 10 feet out to this 2-point anchor. So from here to here, that's 50 feet, right? And so your typical throw bag, if it's strong rope, is long enough because you have 50 feet to get to shore, and then 25 feet for people to stand here and pull on it, or if you had to do like a 3-to-1, you could pull it off. I think we talked about this in the last episode, and it works. It just turns out pulling in line like this, the sheer friction, the friction between those is so large. Just to do this brute force attack and pulling with strength this way off the end of the boat, it's brutal. And it really just pulls the boat, and it's what people do a lot of times, but it doesn't work that well. And one of the things I see is people learn about how to do 3-to-1s in a class, and they show up on a scene and they go, boat stuck, let's find an anchor and 3-to-1 to the anchor. And that's the wrong solution. Right there, let's say there's an anchor back here, you might go, okay, well let's 3-to-1 to that. But what you really want to do is try a lot of angles first and see what looks good, and then find the corresponding anchor. That's an important detail I want to make sure we cover in this episode. So, I generally find if it's a quick, easy pull, this works. But what you're typically gonna do is start walking up the shore and pulling from different angles. You're never gonna walk down the shore. That's the thing I've never seen happen. You're gonna start pulling from that angle and that angle, right? And just see ooh, that did something different. That maybe it helped. Maybe it was harder. And what I find typically is attaching to here really helps, right? Because instead of pulling the boat down the rock, you're kind of peeling the boat back, right? You're gonna actually, by pulling this end up a little bit, there's less water going into it, and what you're trying to do is have less water going to this end, more water to go to this end, and it will come off. I hope that made sense, right? But you want to make a less of a catcher's mitt for water here, and there's less force pushing around this side of the rock. So what I actually like to do is try to take a 2-point anchor here, right? And then go to shore like that. And, again, so if this is 60 feet, this boat's 14 feet long. Let's say it's 5 more feet out, just for the sake of numbers. So now it's 65 feet out, and it's up the shore. So this is probably, now we're looking at we'll do some math in a second, but 80-ish feet, which is beyond the limit of a throw bag. And this is a limitation of a throw bag. And I think you're gonna find that as you do this, 45 degrees is sort of a maximum angle, but actually also a pretty good angle too, because you're getting, by 45 degrees, you're getting it pulled this way and up, right? It's being pulled towards shore. Any more than that, and it's basically, you're just fighting the current. So I've had really good luck with 45-ish angles, but again, you want to try a bunch of different angles, and then all of a sudden wonder ooh, that's going. We're feeling that. That's when you might want to think about setting up some mechanical advantage. And so you want to look behind you for what you see from mechanical advantage. Here, ideally I put a tree here, right? So you could put your anchor here, have your pulley there, make the rope go like boom, 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 redirect, and you're good, right? That works out pretty well. But what typically happens is there's not a perfect anchor, right? So let's say that's 45 degrees. Well, let's say there's like a tree here, but it's not big enough to be an anchor, and there's like a rock here. So you might do a 2-point anchor between the small tree and the rock, possibly, do something around like this. I'm just gonna draw this really quick, and it's gonna go to there. Now it's not gonna be your ideal angle, right? Just because that's your ideal angle doesn't mean there's magically the perfect anchor for you there. You're gonna have to give up a little bit, and now you're gonna pull like that once you go to mechanical advantage. So the nice thing is when you have no mechanical advantage, you can pull from all kinds of angles, you can find the right angle. As soon as you go to mechanical advantage, you rarely look right behind you and see a tree right there or the perfect rock. Usually you have to give up something and have it just approximate it, or use multiple weaker anchors to get your desired effect. So I just really want to run through some of the math of this really quick because I think this is important. So again, if we call this distance here, this was 60, this is 65, right? And let's say that's a 45 degree, I gotta erase some more stuff here. And let's just say we went with this being a 45 degree angle, which I think is a pretty good realistic angle for what we're talking about here, right? What we want to know is if this is 65 and this is 45, how long is that? And here's how we get to use a little bit of trigonometry. Those of you that remember your trig, I think it's the cosine of 45 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. We want this is the hypotenuse, equals adjacent 65 over h. And so you get h cosine 45 equals 65, and you get the hypotenuse equals 65 sorry, that's 56. 65 divided by the cosine of 45. Now you could use this same thing and put in 31 degrees, 39 degrees, do your own stuff. Again, I'm going with 45 degrees here. So let me use my calculator really quick, and I'll be right back. I'm gonna figure out what 65 divided by the cosine of 45 is. Okay, I'm back. So this is 91. The hypotenuse is 91, it's like 91.3 feet. Somebody can double check the math. But that basically means this here is 91. So again, if our boat is on a rock 60 feet away, which is realistic on a lot of rivers, especially, this is an important point. Let's say the river is 100 feet wide and the rock is 60 feet over. You could pull from the 40-foot side with less rope, but the boat really wants to come this way. And an important detail when pulling boats off is you want to figure out which way the boat's already kind of coming, the most likely way for it to come, and go there, even if it's the other side of the river and is longer. So let's say you're all over here and it's only 40 feet away. Let's just pull against what it wants to do. You're going to be fighting this for hours. What you need to do is get everybody to cross the river somehow and then gap this longer distance, which in this case is 60 feet, right? And then do it. But to do that, you need a lot of rope. If you just have throw bags, you're gonna be very tempted to do this. And it's not gonna work and cause you a lot of tension and work, and you're gonna end up over here anyway, most likely. So, you figured out that, the distance is 60 feet. This distance is 91. Your throw bag's not gonna work. And then, you look back to your anchor. Now, this anchor here, last time I said it's 10 feet from shore. Well, let's just assume it's 10 feet, out farther. Right? Actually, let's assume something, like imagine standing on a shore of a river and look back at how far you see trees and things to tie onto. They're typically not 10 feet out. So let's just go with 20 feet, right? You're gonna turn around and not look straight that way, but look upstream, right? You're gonna not look, you don't stand here and look what's over here, because if you look at what's over here, it's gonna cause a different angle, right? You wanna look up at the angle you're pulling. So if you look, let's go 20 feet up. So I'm gonna draw this further away. Sorry, I'm all over the map right now, but this is really fun. Right, that's the anchor we want to use, or there's 2 anchors here, right, that we can do a 2-point self-equalizing anchor with. But so we're gonna go 91 feet, we're gonna go, and let's say we have Hoopy here. We have an anchor that comes out about 5 feet. So did I say 20 feet to here? So that makes that 15 feet to where the pulley is. So we go 15 more feet, that gets us to 106. We probably have to go 10 feet back, 116 to our pulley. Another 10 feet back, that gets us to 126. And then we want to have another pulley here so we can do a redirect that goes up this way. Right, so we're 126 to there. And again, it rarely is the case that wherever you have the anchor, you can stand exactly right there and pull. Usually there's rocks in the way, there's stuff in the way. So you're probably gonna be another 15, 20 feet up this way, maybe more. So that puts us at 126, that puts us at 141. So to get to here, it's 141 feet. Now, if you have 150 feet of rope, you're barely covered. And don't forget, there's a knot in the rope right here. You got a figure 8, which takes up like 6 inches. Right, even with 150 feet, you're cutting it close. So, but again, I think 120 feet is like a minimum for like lower volume, private boating. 150 is a good length. 200 is solid, right, in terms of lengths. But there's one other detail about ropes that I want to get into in some future episodes, and that's elongation. And here's something to think about. If you have this system where you have 141 feet of rope, and you have rope that elongates 8%, that's like, I don't know, that's like 11 feet, right? Somebody else can do the math. That's about 11 feet. That means this rope is gonna stretch 11 feet, right? That's a lot of feet, right? You're pulling, when you pull with your 3-to-1 or however you do it, you're pulling 11 feet out of the rope. And there's a lot of energy in that rope. As you pull it, you basically have like loaded up a spring that wants to just like fire back. So if something breaks, it's catastrophic. I'm a huge fan of when I'm looking for my static lines, looking for minimal elongation. Like a low number for elongation is like 2%. So in 141 feet of rope, 2% would be like, you know, almost 3 feet, right? Which is still kind of amazing. When you're pulling on this, you're stretching the rope 3 feet, right? But there's also less energy built up in that stretch. So just to summarize all of this mess of things I've been talking about, hopefully you've enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed doing it, is when you're looking for a static line, if you think about the size of the river you're on and the angle and all the stuff you got to do and where anchors actually exist on shore, 150 feet seems like a decent length of rope. It's good, it's decent, right? But the other big factor is elongation, how much that rope stretches. And I feel like that's a really important factor when we're looking for static lines, or whatever you want to call them, haul lines or safety lines. I'm going to call them static lines, but I think that's another important thing. So let's sum this up. Thank you all if you made it this far. I think, you know, I'm going to have some static lines. I want to talk about some different static line options. Some episodes coming up pretty soon. But I'd love to get your thoughts on any of this. If you want to double check my math, that'd be cool. And also what you like calling it, right? Do you like static line? Do you like haul line? Do you like safety line? Do you like some other thing? Is there some standard that we maybe should talk about in the comments about what to call it? So anyway, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.